The IS-7 began its story at the very end of the Second World War. In 1945, 3 projects were developed: Object 257, 258, and 259. They differed in their power plants, but all were intended to be armed with the 122mm Deep 25 gun. After analyzing these designs, a new project emerged: Object 260. It was this vehicle that became the foundation of the future IS-7. On September 9th, 1945, just a week after the end of the war, the tank that would receive the designation IS-7 appeared. The new tank inherited the distinctive pike nose design seen on the IS-3, but the frontal armor thickness was increased to 150mm. The turret became longer and significantly better protected. Initially, it was planned to install a 122mm gun, but due to delays in development, the decision was made to arm the tank with the 130mm S-26 gun. Despite the large caliber and the limited space inside the fighting compartment, the rate of fire reached 6 to 8 rounds per minute. This was made possible by a mechanized loading system with a pneumatic rammer. The tank also received impressive machine gun armament: one 14.5mm machine gun mounted above the main gun, 2 coaxial 7.6 2mm machine guns, and 2 additional 7.6 2mm machine guns mounted in the hull sides. To move the 65-ton tank, engineers initially planned to install 2 V-shaped 16-cylinder engines. When this idea proved unsuccessful, a new TD-30 diesel engine was developed based on the ACH-30 aircraft engine. As a result, the IS-7 reached an impressive top speed of up to 60 kilometers per hour. For a vehicle of this weight, an innovative suspension system was required. Several technologies were applied that had not previously been used on Soviet tanks: tracks with rubber metal joints, double-acting hydraulic shock absorbers, road wheels with internal shock absorption, and beam-type torsion bars. On September 8, 1946, almost exactly 1 year after the project's approval, the first IS-7 prototype left the factory and headed for trials. The second prototype appeared on December 25th, 1946. Additional hulls and turrets were also manufactured for firing tests. The first tank covered more than 1,000 kilometers without serious issues. The second tank, however, broke down after just 45 kilometers. Following the trials, the design was refined, the hull was widened, the turret was made lower, and curved side armor plates were added. The tank's weight increased to 68 tons. To compensate for the added weight, a new engine producing 1,050 horsepower was installed. Fuel capacity was increased to 1,300 liters by using flexible rubberized fuel tanks placed along the sides of the hull. However, these very tanks were later blamed for a fire in one of the prototypes, despite the presence of an automatic fire suppression system. The armament was also upgraded. The S-26 gun was replaced with the more advanced 130mm S-70. The pneumatic rammer was replaced with an electric one. Another 14.5mm machine gun with remote control was mounted on the turret roof. 2 rear-facing 7.6 2mm machine guns were also added. The crew consisted of 5 men, the driver in the hull, the commander and gunner in the turret, and 2 loaders. In the summer of 1948, 4 upgraded tanks underwent factory trials. The tanks demonstrated excellent speed and moved confidently across rough terrain. The state trials were also highly impressive. The chief tester of the USSR Ministry of Transport Machine Building, E.A. Kulchitsky, wrote, "It was a great honor for me to be the first to drive this remarkable tank. It is difficult to describe the feeling when such a heavy tank easily accelerates beyond 60 kilometers per hour. It is completely obedient to the driver." Incidentally, he had previously performed the famous jump with a BT-7 tank. In terms of handling, the IS-7 significantly surpassed most Soviet tanks of its time. Its armor protection was outstanding. During testing, dogs were placed inside the tank while it was fired upon with a German 128mm anti-tank gun, one of the most powerful weapons of its time, as well as with the IS-7's own gun. The result was impressive. The armor withstood the hits. Yes, damage was recorded, and problems did occur, but overall, the IS-7 proved itself to be an extremely powerful and advanced tank. In 1949, the Kirov plant received an order for 50 IS-7 tanks. However, these plans were never realized. Even early 1950s Western heavy tanks, such as the M103 and the Conqueror, would not have been able to match the IS-7 on equal terms, neither in protection nor in mobility. It would have taken years to develop a comparable vehicle, and yet production was cancelled. Even the initial batch of 50 tanks was never built. Why? The answer lies in doctrine and logistics. The Soviet leadership understood that even the most powerful tank is useless if it cannot be rapidly transported to the front. At that time, Soviet railways were designed for vehicles weighing around 50 to 55 tons. The IS-7 weighed nearly 70. Moreover, its production was expensive and complex. The tank was technologically advanced, but required significant resources and time. With the beginning of the Cold War, the focus shifted toward mass production, toward a large number of lighter and more versatile tanks. As a result, the lighter IS-8 entered service, later receiving the designation T-10. Weight became the decisive factor, and the story of the IS-7 came to an end. And that's how the story of a tank that could have become the best in the world ended, but it turned out to be too heavy for its time. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning about the history of the IS-7. If you enjoyed the story, please give it a like.